Good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're with me, Disal Kapuke, for the Newsfirst team where we are and always will be with the people. Let's start off by taking a look at the headlines for tonight.
Final rights of Dinesh Shafter observed. Trade unions reveal plans to submit cabinet paper to hike electricity tariffs. 60 MPs must retire, says the Anunayaka of the Sri Lanka Ramanya sect. Sri Lanka's navy rescues 104 Myanmar nationals on the high seas.
Now in your top story, the final rights of late Dinesh Shafter, a respected Colombo-based businessman and a director of a leading insurance company in Sri Lanka who was murdered, were observed in Colombo on Sunday the 18th.
Politicians, businessmen and cricketers were among those who visited the residence of late Dinesh Shafter, located down Flower Road in Colombo, to pay their final respects. The mortal remains of late Dinesh Shafter were then taken to the Church of Ceylon, located down Bauddha Lokamawata, where President Ranil Wickremesinghe paid his final respects. After religious observances, the remains were taken to the Boralla cemetery. Businessman Dinesh Shafter was found tied up and strangled inside his car at the Boralla Public Cemetery on Thursday evening. Sri Lanka Police and the Criminal Investigations Department have recorded statements from 23 people over the murder. A homicide investigation is underway under 4 police teams, including teams from the CID and the Colombo Crimes Division. However, no suspects have been arrested in connection to the murder as of yet. Indonesia passes law to get fugitives who embezzled large sums of money extradited from Singapore.
The Electricity Consumers Association says that if the government goes ahead with the planned increase in electricity tariffs, all sectors in Sri Lanka will face a serious crisis. Meanwhile, trade unions allege that the Minister of Power is preparing to table a cabinet paper to increase electricity tariffs. When we inquired on this matter from the Ministry of Power, an official said that while a cabinet paper on price revisions is due to be presented, they are unsure as to if it will be presented to the cabinet tomorrow. However, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka says that there is no need to increase electricity tariffs.
According to the cabinet paper of this minister, even impoverished communities including Samruddhi beneficiaries will have to pay a minimum of 3,000 rupees for electricity. Religious places of worship will have to pay at least 1,500 rupees. The Mahasangha got onto the streets and demanded for electricity tariffs to be reduced, and the PUCSL reduced it by 50%. This deduction will also be removed. Also, the prices for those operating hotels will also increase. The apparel sector in the country, which used to operate day and night for about 6 days of the week, has crashed and is now only operating 3 days of the week. Small-scale business owners everywhere have fallen. Will Kanchana Vijayasekara bear responsibility for the damage that will be caused to these export sectors, or will the president bear the responsibility for this? With these industries collapsing, many people have lost their jobs. Entrepreneurs can't set a price for their products and services. Therefore, this must be withdrawn immediately. This minister is trying to attack the sovereignty of the people of our country. We question the minister as to what he is trying to achieve by doing this. They are trying to remove the PUCSL out of the equation, which is the only institution that consumers like us can complain to. so that they can carry on with their mafia.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහජන උපයෝගිතා කොමිෂන් සභාව ඉවතට දාලා පාරිභෝගිකයෝ හැටියට අපිට පැමිණිලි කරන්න තියෙන දේවාලෙත් කඩා දාලා මේ මාපියාව හසුරුවන්න තමයි හදන්නේ.
The Samagi United Trade Union Force alleges that if electricity tariffs are increased again, it would be done only due to the government irregularities and not due to the loss incurred by the Ceylon Electricity Board.
The PUCSL must consider the views and ideas of the public. It is clearly mentioned in the Act that those suggestions from the people must be presented to the Cabinet. The prices of fuel such as crude oil and petrol has dropped below $40. If the price of fuel has dropped, naphtha, diesel and crude oil can be given for low prices to generate power. You can decrease the tariffs, let alone increase them. According to the new price formula that's coming out tomorrow, the price applicable between 1 and 30 units is 50 rupees instead of the previous 8 rupees. The fixed amount is 1,500 rupees, which means someone using 30 units will have to pay 3,000 rupees. It costs 100 rupees per unit. The electricity bill has been increased by 500%. The unit price has increased and the tariff has been increased threefold. From there it increases to 50, 55, 60 and 65. The minister himself said it costs 57 rupees to produce a unit. Then from 1 unit to 30 units, it costs 100 rupees.
The National Movement for the Protection of Public Rights points out that the power crisis is not one created by the people, but a crisis created by politicians and the management of the CEB.
Was this crisis created by the people? The people have paid their electricity bills and performed their duties. Is it all right to put the entire burden on the people? They proposed several times that the price of a unit of power that can be generated at 4 rupees and 50 cents should be increased to 50 rupees. Also, you're trying to impose this entire burden on the 4.5 million people of this country who use up to 90 units of power. The people in this country are still suffering with power cuts of 2 to 3 hours daily. How can the Ministry of Power and the CEB, who cannot provide efficient and uninterrupted service, demand from the people like this? They must reverse this decision to increase electricity tariffs by 70%.
Chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, Janaka Ratnayaka, speaking on Newsline recently said the government is proposing an increase in electricity tariffs at a time when the prices of coal and fuel have dropped in the global market.
And even on this tariff matter, I don't think that the real message is not going to them. What happens is now the politicians and the other officials and us are talking about the same subject, I think in using two different languages. We understand them, they don't understand us. Now say we are talking about numbers. We are talking about rational things. We are talking about contraction of the economy. We talk about less demand. We are talking about now say we are paying exorbitant prices to buy oil. Therefore, the price revision that we accommodated in 2022 August, and since then you see the factors, factors of generating electricity. Say for example, coal prices were around $350 per tonnage. Now it has come down to around 200 level. You look at the crude oil, you look at refinery products, everything has come down in the world market. So when there is a reduction, and the reduction in those variables where you use probably to produce electricity, when there are no increments, so why do you want to increase it? Again, you look at economy is contracting, and you look at the growth rate will be around 8 to 10% minus.
While several factions raise concerns over the government's attempt to increase electricity tariffs to a point where it is unbearable to the people, this is how the people are suffering due to skyrocketing food prices. Many people in Sri Lanka have to now think twice even when purchasing essential food items. To make matters worse, in addition to people not being able to purchase the food that they need, animal feed too is hard to come by. This is the fate of maize cultivations in the Ampara district that are used as an animal feed. Despite much of their cultivation being destroyed by the Sena caterpillar and the fertilizer crisis, farmers in Galkanda cultivated maize on 2,000 hectares of land. The area has not received rain for over a month now.
We cultivated this season because we need to survive. We haven't got any rain for about 30 to 35 days. We don't know what to do now. All the jewelry we had was pawned. We found money for agrochemicals needed to fend off the Sena caterpillar so that we can cultivate this season by pawning the water pump that we had at home.
While the lack of rain has affected their cultivations, the threat posed by the Sena caterpillars also loom.
The Sena caterpillar has damaged 90% of our cultivation. We can't spray medicine for the Sena caterpillar because a tank is about 500 rupees. Although officials promise to compensate us for damaged crops, we have not got any compensation to date.
The lack of rain has damaged about 1,000 acres of maize cultivation in Hulangnuge, Ampara.
මේ දැන් මා දවස් 33කටත් වැඩි මුදුන් මලක්වත් නැහැ මේ ඉරුඟු යාවේ මෙහෙම වුණාට පස්සේ ගොයියෝ කොච්චර රසන්න වෙනවද කියන්නකෝ
මේ මොනවද ගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ මේ තැම්බිලා තියෙන මේවයි මේවා ගන්න කිසිම දෙයක් නැහැ මේවා ආයි කරලක් හදන්න දෙයක්වත් නැහැ
අපිට මොකක් හරි සහනයක් තමයි මේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ බැංකු ලෝන් අරගෙන දාලා දැන් ඒව ගෙවන්න විදියකුත් නැහැ හෙට අනිද්දා උසාවි ගානේ තමයි අපිට යන්න වෙන්නේ.
These farmers, whose cultivations were devastated due to the decision of the government to ban fertilizer, are now suffering due to the lack of rain. This is a field in Pallevatta, Hasalaka. These farmers have been severely affected by the wild elephant threats and the fertilizer crisis. They spoke to the All Ceylon Farmers Federation regarding their woes.
We are in the district of former Minister of Agriculture Mahindananda. These farmers have not received fertilizer. These farmers must use another type of fertilizer now, since it has been 45 days since they began their cultivations. There is no preparation to provide these farmers with that fertilizer either. These farmers don't have money to purchase urea fertilizer. The only way that they can find some money is by selling the paddy stocks that they have. But they cannot sell their paddy either because it does not have a proper price in the market. We got some fertilizer for free from the international community. We have information that these stocks of fertilizer have been hidden. They destroyed these farmers for 3 seasons and did not provide them with fertilizer. After going through all of this, these farmers have to live on trees to protect their fields from wild elephants. This is the plight of these farmers. We ask the government not to make these farmers suffer anymore.
Against a backdrop where the people of the country continue to suffer because of the economic crisis, Gammadda took the initiative to lend a helping hand to those who need it the most. The Gammadda teams today visited the people of Haliala.
Many people in the country are finding it impossible to make ends meet. Gammadda, as always, took the initiative in bringing some joy to the lives of these people. Gammadda teams visited Haliala in Badulla to lend a helping hand to the people there. The teams distributed dry rations among the people. The people are the true driving force behind the Gammadda movement. In addition to the rural development projects conducted by Gammadda, the Gammadda initiative will always come to the aid of the people in their times of need.
A people's initiative built in the heart of the village.
වැඩක් කාර්ය බහුල වැඩක් කෙනෙකුට කරන්න බැරි වැඩ කොටසක් එකට කරනවා
මේ වැඩසටහන අපි සියලු දෙනා ලංකාවේ මුස්ලිම් සිංහල දෙමළ ඒගොල්ලන් නොතක හැමෝටම උදව් කරනවා මේකට අපිත් අත් දෙක උස්සලා මේකට සම්පූර්ණ සහයෝගය දෙන්න ඕනේ
Gammadda, for the people, by the people.
News First, with the people.
Parliamentarian SM Marika says that the government should call for an election immediately. The President and the government are employing various tactics to postpone the local government election. The newest tactic is to say that they don't have money to hold the election and that they cannot provide security for the election as many police officers are retiring on the 31st of December. If these two are the reasons for postponing the election, they will postpone the presidential election and the general election in the same way. He will try to be the president forever. Another tactic that they are trying to use is to provide a solution to the issues in the north and the east. We accept the fact that justice must be done to the Tamil communities in the north and east.
but we will not allow them to use this as an excuse to cause communal issues between the Tamil communities and the Muslim and Sinhala communities in the country. This ploy is also being used to postpone the elections.
Attorney Manoj Nanayakara convened a media briefing on Sunday and spoke about the importance of holding an election.
Why is
Ranil Wickremesinghe acting like this without any responsibility towards this country and without any feeling for the people of the country? Ranil Wickremesinghe was not an elected president. He is not a president elected by the people. Now we can see that Ranil Wickremesinghe is a selected president. He was appointed by the Rajapaksas and it is very clear. They go to the houses of the Aragale activists like Dilan and stab them. Famous businessmen in the country like Dinesh Shafter are strangled and killed inside their vehicles. But this elected president is not doing anything about it. As of today, the police is acting according to the needs of this selected president. What does he need? He needs to ensure the security of the Rajapaksas and the Pohottuva MPs who gave him the presidency. He is not concerned with the security of the country because he is a selected president. So we inform this president who has not been elected by the people that the people of this country are demanding for a clear mandate. We would inform him that he is just a product of a discussion held in Madamulana. Only an elected president can understand this because he feels the heartbeat of the people. A president selected by the Rajapaksas does not feel this. That is why we have to point this out to you now. You are not a president elected by the people.
ඔබතුමා ජනතාව විසින් තෝරාපත් කරගත්ත ජනාධිපතිවරයෙක් නෙමෙයි. ඔබතුමා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ඇතුළු කුඩා කල්ලියකගේ පිල්ලියක්.
The Anunayaka of the Ramanya sect, Venerable Kappitiagoda Siri Vimala Thero, says that the law requiring public employees to retire by the age of 60 should be applied to parliamentarians as well.
Professor G.L. Piris called on Venerable Kappitiagoda Siri Vimala Thero this morning.
එමෙතුමා දැන් අපි අගමැතිතුමා ගැසට් පත්‍රයක් නිකුත් කරලා තියෙනවා. දොස්තරලා අනිත් ඉන්න කාර්යකාරී කරන උදවිය හැමදෙනාම 60න් විශ්‍රාමයේ ආයුතුයි කියලා. මම යෝජනා කරනවා දොස්තරලා විතරක් නෙවෙයි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න පිරිසත් ඒ විදිහටම 60න් විශ්‍රාමයේ යන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට වෙන කරන පිරිසක් දෙන්න එනවා. ඇයිලා රටේ ජීවනෝ සඳහා ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. ඒකයි කළ යුත්තේ. නමුත් ඔබතුමාලා බලන්නේ ඔබතුමාලා බේරිලා අනිත් මිනිස්සු ටික පිටක් කරන්න එළියට දාන්න. එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. ඒක නෙවෙයි කළ යුත්තේ. කළ යුත්තේ නීතිය කාටත් එකයි.
Meanwhile, the ceremony to present the sonnus to Venerable Kappitiagoda Siri Vimala Thero as the Anunayaka of the Sri Lanka Ramana sect was held today. The ceremony held at the Gatame Rajopavanarame was chaired by the Mahanayaka Theros. The sonnus to the new Anunayaka Thero was presented by the Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa presented the Vijinipata to the new Anunayaka Thero.
Gampaha electorate Balamandala meeting of the Samagijana Balavege was held today.
The meeting was chaired by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
Everywhere we hear that they are forming an alliance. All the thieves, deal makers, corrupt groups will join this alliance. They will all get together and formulate corrupt policies to suit them. But the Holy Alliance is here. This is where we embark on a clean journey. The journey that will honestly support the country is here. I want to make it clear that we will not accept everyone. We are not ready to accept garbage. We only have space for honest, intelligent, educated and talented people. We have no space in our party for corrupt groups. Remember well that we may not have fancy words, but we do have a practical and realistic approach. That approach is Sri Lanka first, taking Sri Lanka to the first place in the world.
MP Dr. Harsha De Silva says that the Central Bank of Sri Lanka does not have a roadmap for the year 2023. He emphasizes that an election should be called immediately for the stabilization of the country.
IMF එකේ board level agreement.
It was said earlier that the IMF board approval could be secured in December. And now it is said that these people will be able to reach an agreement by January. Some even say that an agreement will be reached by March, while some say that an agreement should be reached by June. Even within the government, there is no understanding of where the country is going or what the plan is. Ever since the year 2008, the central bank's roadmap for the next year was published in the first week of January. But this year there is no roadmap for the year 2023. This means that we turn off our GPS. So we actually don't know where we are going.
ඒ කියන්නේ අපි අපේ GPS එක off කරලා යන්නේ. ඒක මේක off කරනවා කියන්නේ එහෙමනම් අපි යන තැන හරියට දන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක තමයි. මේක නිකන් එළ හරකයි මී හරකයි වාගේ. ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ඇතුලේ ඒගොල්ලොන්
If they don't understand why this economy collapsed, how on earth will they recover from it? The only option we see is to form a new government. A program presented by a new government should be accepted by the international community and the people of the country.
රටේ ජනතාව පිළිගන්න.
News First. Main sponsor.
25% for 2 months. 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD. 25% for 2 months. 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
Ivan Satutin inne wiring karala. Wiring kirwe Eslon Polycon yodala.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking.
The luxury cruise ship Ocean Odyssey reached the Colombo harbour today with 108 US passengers on board.
The Ocean Odyssey ship, which arrived from Cochin Port in India to the Colombo port, belongs to a US company and is 105 meters in length and 18.5 meters wide. Commemorative plaques were exchanged between the captain of the ship and Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva, according to customs, to mark the first visit of the ship. The tourists who arrived on the ship are going to visit Colombo, Kurunagala, Habarana, Sigiriya and Trincomalee.
Sri Lanka Navy rescued 104 distressed Myanmar nationals aboard a passenger craft in Sri Lanka's waters about 3.5 nautical miles north of the Vethalakani area today.
The distressed craft is reported to have trespassed into the island's territorial waters on Saturday night following a mechanical failure while it was carrying these people from Myanmar to Indonesia. In rough sea conditions, the Navy made a strenuous effort and rescued 104 Myanmar nationals who were aboard the non-operational craft, and the group of people were brought to the Kankasanture harbour for further requirements. The group of people will be handed over to relevant authorities for onward action.
Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira was appointed as the 25th Commander of the Sri Lankan Navy on the 18th of December 2022 after being elevated to the rank of 3-star Admiral.
The appointment was made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira is a product of Royal College, Colombo. He joined the Sri Lanka Navy in the executive branch in 1987 as an officer cadet of the 5th intake of the General Sir John Kothalavala Defence University. He has rendered more than 35 years of distinguished service to the Sri Lankan Navy with a reputation of a dedicated, professionally competent and inspiring leader. Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira is a recipient of the Ranasura Padakkama thrice for conspicuous display of gallantry in combat and Uttara Seva Padakkama for an unblemished service and devotion to duty.
An accident occurred today at around 2 p.m. when a car travelling from Devinuvara towards Mathura veered off the road and fell into the sea at the Vellamadama area in Mathura.
A 50-year-old resident from Gonamulla Call was the only person in the vehicle at the time of the accident.
දෙවුන්දර පැත්තේ ඉඳලා ආව වහනේ මාතර පැත්තට යන්න ආවේ අපි මෙතන මාළු අල්ලලා හිටියේ උඩින් ආපු ගමන් කපිරයක් ගියා වගේ උඩින් ආව පෙරලි මර බන්ට් එකේ වැදිලා පෙරලි ගියා එක්කෙනා හිටියේ තොර කඩලා තමයි මිනිහා බේරගත්තා ලෙඩු ගෙනින වහනෙන් ආවා වතුර පේන දුන්නා මිනිහට ඇස් දෙකක්වත් අරගන්න බැරි වුණා ඇස් දෙක උඩ ගිහින් තිබුණේ.
The driver was admitted to the Mathura General Hospital. The police said that the driver had fallen asleep at the wheel.
Mrs. India was crowned as the winner of the Mrs. World Pageant 2022 held in Las Vegas of the United States. Mrs. Sri Lanka won the best costume mini pageant that was held in line with the main event.
Indian contestant Sagam Kaushal has been crowned in the Mrs. World Pageant in a gala event that took place in Las Vegas of the United States. Second place went to Mrs. Canada and third to Mrs. Polynesia.
Mrs. India!
Mrs. Sri Lanka 2022 Ushi Pereira won the overall Best Costume Mini Pageant. Ushi, who has a loving husband and 2 sons, has been leading a successful family life for 17 years. Mrs. Sri Lanka Ushi Pereira has also made it to the top 16 at the Mrs. World pageant in 2022.
Indonesia's parliament passed into law a bilateral extradition agreement with Singapore on Thursday, in a move Jakarta expects to help authorities bring to justice people accused of stashing offshore billions of dollars of state money in the city-state.
The absence of an extradition treaty has been a sensitive issue for Indonesia, which has complained about the difficulty of going after some fugitives accused of embezzling large sums during the 1997-1998 Asian financial crisis. Indonesia has said under the extradition treaty signed by the country's leaders in January, people who had committed 31 types of crime will be liable to be extradited, and it will apply to offences committed up to 18 years ago. Reuters reported that Indonesia's parliament passed into law a bilateral extradition agreement with Singapore on Thursday. The agreement would also mean that people would not be able to escape justice by changing their citizenship. Speaking after Parliament's approval, Indonesia's Law and Human Rights Minister said the law would give legal certainty to the 2 countries in the process of extraditing fugitives. Singapore has said the agreement will also be helpful to Indonesia's own efforts to prevent suspected criminals from fleeing overseas and for them to be apprehended in Indonesia.
Iranian authorities have arrested one of the country's best-known actresses after she expressed solidarity with anti-government demonstrators. State media reported Tarana Al-Dusti was detained on charges of spreading falsehood about the protest movement that has gripped the country.
Foreign media reports that Taraneh Al-Dusti, star of the Oscar-winning movie The Salesman, was detained a week after she made a post on Instagram expressing solidarity with the first man recently executed for crimes allegedly committed during the protests. The announcement is the latest in a series of celebrity arrests that have included footballers, actors and influencers in response to their open display of support for anti-government demonstrations now in their 3rd month. According to the report published on the state media's official Telegram channel, Al-Dusti was arrested because she did not provide any document in line with her claims. It said that several other Iranian celebrities had also been summoned by the judiciary body over publishing provocative content and that some had been arrested. It provided no further details. In her post, the 38-year-old actress said, quote, "His name was Mohsen Shekhari. Every international organization who is watching this bloodshed and not taking action is a disgrace to humanity," unquote. Shekhari was executed on the 9th of December after being charged by an Iranian court with blocking a street in Tehran and attacking a member of the country's security forces with a machete.
The 6th season of the Ceylon Fighting Championship was held yesterday in Colombo. Newsfirst Sanitha Senanayaka brings you this report.
Fighters hailing from MMA clubs in areas like Colombo, Kandy and Kurunegala participated in the event. The 8 fights that took place were judged by Nimesh Chamara, Supundaya Ratna and Dinet Aloka, while Kumud Patirana was the referee. The Ceylon Fighting Championship is the only platform in the country for local MMA fighters to showcase their talent to the world. As an emerging sport in the country, mixed martial arts has dedicated fighters whose intention is to become the best at what they do, both here in Sri Lanka and in the international arena. Through hard work, perseverance and many injuries, these athletes go head to head with the best of the best in the country. News First spoke to some of these heroic ambassadors of this exhilarating sport.
මම මික්ස් මාෂල් ආර්ට්ස් වලට හුඟක් කැමතියි. මම අවුරුදු 4මාරක් 5ක් තිස්සේ ඉඳන් වගේ මම ලංකාවේ ෆුල් ටයිම් ට්‍රේන් කරන්න මගේ එකම දේ මික්ස් මාෂල් ආර්ට්ස්. මගේ ජීවිතේ මට තියෙන එකම ඇම්බිෂන් එක දවසක PFL, Cage Warriors, One Championship, UFC වගේ ලොකු ජාත්‍යන්තර මට්ටමේ තියෙන ෆයිට් ලීග් එකකට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ෆයිටර් කෙනෙක් විදියට නියෝජනය කරන්න මම හුඟක් කැමතියි.
And I really would like to call out the people of Sri Lanka to support this sport, come and see these sports. I know you all love UFC, you all love Khabib, McGregor, but you all have to support us also because we are local talents who would like to take Sri Lanka to the next level. And I really would like to call out for the businesses and big promoters to sponsor the fighters. They are financially struggling. If you all sponsor them, they can improve their hard work and get up and go to foreign countries and represent Sri Lanka.
මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ මෙතන ඉන්න හැම සටන්කරුවෙක්ම ඉන්ටර්නැෂනල් ලෙවල් එකට ගිහිල්ලා එතනින් ලංකාව කියන නම වෙනුවෙන් හැමෝම පර්ෆෝම් කරලා ඉස්සරහට වින් කරන්න පුළුවන් ලෙවල් එකේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා. මේ MMA කියන ක්‍රීඩාව ලංකාවේ නගා සිටවන්න ඕනේ. MMA කියන්නේ ලෝකේ තියෙන දැනට තියෙන හොඳ එන්ටර්ටේනින් ගොඩක් ප්‍රසිද්ධ ක්‍රීඩාවක්. ඒක ලංකාව වගේ රටකට ගෙනල්ලා ගොඩක් ප්‍රසිද්ධ කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒකෙන් ගොඩක් විදේශිකයෝ ලංකාවට ගෙන්න ගන්න පුළුවන්.
The event